Q and Review, celebrating 40 years of audio production, welcomes you to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports Podcast, recorded from our studio in the Bishopbriggs Media Centre and by our volunteers working from home. Keep up to date with Q and Review news via our Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, or Instagram at Q and Review. That's @CUEANDREVIEW, or get in touch with us directly by emailing information@qandreview.com. That's INFORMATION @CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling us on 0141 772 3979. Please like and share our podcast and give us constructive feedback.
From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 7th of January 2025. From the Sports section. Celtic versus Dundee United, PPV price slashed in goodwill gesture. And this article was written by David Irvin. Celtic have slashed the price of a pay-per-view pass for their match against Dundee United. The Parkhead club have cut the fee in half ahead of the Scottish Premiership tie as a goodwill gesture after a power cut caused problems with the PPV coverage of the win over St Mirren. Brendan Rodgers' side cruised to a victory over St Mirren on Sunday, but the live feed went down in the second half as a power cut affected the stadium. Floodlights briefly shut off with advertising boards failing and VAR impacted by the significant outage in the area. Quickly, an emergency generator kicked in with floodlights returning to full power, but the stadium was left with power problems and Celtic TV coverage seriously impacted. In response to the issues, the club have now cut the price for fans wishing to buy PPV passes for the match against Dundee United. The 50% discount will mean a pass will only cost £5.99 for Wednesday night's match or £4.99 for Celtic TV subscribers within the UK and Ireland. A statement read, following Sunday's power outage in the wider Parkhead area of Glasgow that caused disruption to normal matchday services inside Celtic Park, the club have assessed the effect this had on Celtic TV's pay-per-view broadcast of the game against St Mirren. We acknowledge that, unfortunately, the power outage resulted in a loss of pictures and audio for part of the second half's live coverage. While the cause of the disruption was entirely out with the control of the club, in light of these circumstances, Celtic will be reducing the previously advertised pay-per-view pricing by 50% for the forthcoming game against Dundee United at Celtic Park this Wednesday, January the 8th. We hope that this discount will enable supporters who can't make it to Celtic Park to enjoy the full game at home at a reduced price of £5.99 as a token of appreciation for your support on Sunday. Celtic TV subscribers in the UK and Ireland will receive a discounted rate of £4.99, which will be automatically applied at checkout. We would like to take the opportunity to thank you once again for your ongoing support and understanding related to this issue. And this article was written by David Irvin, read by me, Caroline Smith. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 7th of January 2025, from the Sports section. Moment Danilo is baptised in Loch as Rangers teammate watches on. And this article was written by David Irvin. Rangers striker Danilo was baptised yesterday in a freezing Scottish loch. The Ibrox number 99 has been vocal about his faith and the profound impact it has had on his career, helping him through injury struggles in Glasgow last year. On Monday, Danilo was baptised in an open water ceremony supported by teammate Jeffrey, with a pastor flying to Scotland from Brazil for the emotional moment. Danilo shared footage of the experience on his Instagram, with a minister flying to Scotland from IPLTM Templo de Fogo to conduct the ceremony. While the exact location of the baptism is unclear, it is obvious it took place in a Scottish loch in freezing temperatures. Sharing images, Danilo commented, "What a wonderful day, glory to God for all of this. Thank you, Pastor, for being able to make this unique moment happen." Danilo previously said of his Christian faith in an exclusive interview with the Rangers Review, "I have accepted Jesus in my life, and since then everything just changed. What we say in the Bible is that we don't live by seeing, but we live by the faith in us. That was the main thing that I carried with me. Every day is a new opportunity to live, and that is why you have to be thankful. Every day you have an opportunity to do what we didn't do yesterday. With my family, they always try to make me positive and support me. They are always there for me since I was a kid. I am always grateful for everything that my mum and dad have done for me so far." And that article was by David Irvin.
From Glasgow Times, Friday the 10th of November 2025. From the sports section, Dundee manager believes Cerny's Rangers goal shouldn't have stood. This article was written by Robbie Hanratty. Tony Docherty feels Dundee were hard done by in the build-up to Rangers' equaliser on Thursday night. The Dundee manager watched talisman Simon Murray go down, demanding a penalty after colliding with Light Blues defender Clinton Nisiala inside the opposition box, just seconds before Rangers countered up the pitch and scored through Vaclav Cerny. Docherty says that he was informed that the incident was checked by VAR. However, the clumsiness from Nisiala, who was making his senior Rangers debut, went unpunished. Whilst the Dundee players were still up the pitch demanding a decision in their favour, Rangers goalkeeper Liam Kelly executed a perfect pass out to the unmarked Ianis Hagi. The Romanian playmaker then played the ball into the path of Hamza Igman, who managed to dribble his way beyond the remaining Dundee defenders and tee up Cerny to level proceedings. But Docherty would have liked the VAR officials in Clydesdale House and referee Callum Scott to have taken more time over the incident prior to the ball hitting the net. "I think it was a penalty. The defender was really clumsy going in on Simon Murray," he told reporters at Dens Park. "At the time, I thought it was really, really clumsy. The fourth official told me they were checking it. I was surprised. I thought it was a penalty, and I thought they should have taken a bit more time over it. We lost our concentration a bit after that for the Rangers goal, but it was an outstanding performance from my team." And that article was written by Robbie Hanratty. From Glasgow Times, Friday the 10th of January 2025. From the sports section, Atlanta United's big focus revealed amid Kyogo to MLS speculation. This article was written by Robbie Hanratty. Atlanta United president Garth Lagerwey has given clearer indication of the club's transfer plans amid intensifying links with Celtic striker Kyogo Furuhashi. Lagerwey faced intense scrutiny during a recent press conference regarding speculation surrounding Furuhashi. A player who had now deleted Major League Soccer (MLS) article claimed they had already joined the Georgia-based club. Just hours before Furuhashi was set to feature for the Scottish Premiership leaders against Dundee United at Parkhead on Wednesday night, the frenzy began when a story appeared on the MLS website claiming that Furuhashi had signed on as the latest designated player for Atlanta United. This announcement sent shockwaves through both the MLS and Scottish football communities, sparking widespread debate about the potential transfer of the talented forward. However, the excitement quickly turned to confusion when the MLS issued a prompt apology, stating, Major League Soccer's website mistakenly posted an article that named the wrong player as having signed with an MLS club. This clarification raised eyebrows and left fans questioning whether the Japanese internationalist, who has scored 83 goals from 161 Celtic appearances, will remain in Glasgow beyond the January transfer window. There are fewer good players available in the winter versus the summer, Lagerwey told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. But please don't misunderstand. There are good players available in the winter, and if we can get the two that we think are right, we'll get them now. What we won't compromise on is we won't sign a lesser player in an effort to do it quickly. In terms of the DPs, designated players, those are the big focus, and can we get the right guys in by the start of the season? And that article was written by Robbie Hanratty. From Glasgow Times, Friday the 10th of January 2025. From the sports section, one more draw, Rangers' grim away form mirrors historic low points. This article was written by Mark Walker. Rangers are one draw away from matching their worst ever season in games away from Ibrox. Philip Clement is under serious pressure after yet another dismal day on Rangers' travels when they were held to a 1-1 draw by Dundee. Not only are Rangers now 15 points behind Celtic, but they have collected 12 points less than the champions on their travels, and played a game more. Rangers have won 3 times away, drawn 4 times, and lost on 4 occasions too. And one more draw will see them match the same tally as their 2 worst ever seasons, and one of them was 99 years ago. Rangers' lowest ever finish in the top division came in 1925/26, where they finished in 6th place behind Celtic, Airdrie, Hearts, St Mirren and Motherwell, and 2 points ahead of Cowdenbeath. They drew 5 games away from home and lost 7, but they managed 7 wins. But in 1985/86, Rangers managed to lose 10 of the 18 games on the road. Then they won just 3 all season and drew 5 times. Jock Wallace's side would finish in 5th, behind Celtic, Hearts, Dundee United and Aberdeen, and Graham Souness would take over at the end of the season. And another Rangers draw this season would see them match those miserable seasons in the number of stalemates away from Ibrox. Again, this article was written by Mark Walker. From Glasgow Times, Friday the 10th of January 2025. In the sports section, Rangers star set for loan recall as Feyenoord find clever solution. This article is written by Mark Walker. Rangers croc Narecio Casanwiro is set to be recalled by Feyenoord despite being out for the season, so they can loan another one of their players out. The defender was injured in November while playing for the Dutch under-21s against England and suffered a serious knee injury that was expected to end his campaign. He's still on Rangers' books on loan until the end of the season, where the Ibrox club have an option to buy the 22-year-old. However, Feyenoord now want to recall him to get around red tape transfer rules in the Netherlands. They want to loan out unwanted winger Luka Ivanišek to Dinamo Zagreb, but Dutch rules state clubs are only allowed to loan 6 players to foreign clubs, and they currently have 6 on loan, including Casanwiro in Glasgow. The solution would be to recall Casanwiro and pay his wages for the rest of the season, which would allow them to send Ivanišek to Croatia. Casanwiro made 11 appearances for Rangers, with the last coming in a 1-0 win against Heart of Midlothian in November. And that article was written by Mark Walker.
From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 11th of January, from the sports section. Celtic braced for offer as £4.3 million misfit as a key suitor in England, by James McLaughlin. Oxford United are pursuing a loan deal for Celtic's Mike Navroki, according to a report. The Championship club aims to strengthen their defence as they work towards securing their place in the league. The Daily Record claim manager Gary Rowett has been informed about the 23-year-old Polish defender by the scouting team. Navroki, currently behind Cameron Carter-Vickers, Austin Trusty and Liam Scales in the Celtic lineup, is eager to explore the possibility of a move. Celtic recently permitted Stephen Welsh to join KV Mechelen on loan, and it's uncertain whether manager Brendan Rodgers intends to retain Navroki for depth, especially after recalling Dane Murray from his loan at Queen's Park. Navroki, who joined Celtic from Legia Warsaw for £4.3 million in 2023, has struggled to establish a regular starting position with the team. And that report was by James McLaughlin. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 11th of January 2025, from the sports section. Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers admits he wants to keep Kyogo Furuhashi, by Matthew Lindsay, chief football writer. Brendan Rodgers hailed the Celtic supporters who braved Arctic conditions and travelled from afar to cheer on their heroes in Dingwall, following his side's hard-fought 4-1 victory over Ross County today. Saturday. Rodgers criticised sections of the Scottish Champions fanbase following their victory over St Mirren at Parkhead last Sunday. He was unhappy they had booed a pass back in the first half of the match and had chanted the name of Kieran Tierney near the end. However, he singled them out for special praise in the wake of a result which sent the Glasgow club 18 points clear of Rangers at the top of the William Hill Premiership table. The Northern Irishman revealed he had highlighted the length which the Celtic fans had gone to in order to attend a league fixture in the Highlands that was played in sub-zero temperatures during his pre-match team talk. As I said to the guys before the game today, there's many reasons why we want to win, said Rodgers. I know a group of supporters that jumped onto a boat at 3:30 this morning to travel across and then make them drive up here that we drove yesterday. I told them they were going to stand in the freezing cold and watch a game. I said, that is commitment, so at the very bare minimum we have to match that commitment. I knew that if we did, then quality and everything else would take us through the game. So it was brilliant for the supporters to be here, in spite of the weather, brilliant for the players and a good day for us all. Celtic, who took the lead through Hyogo Furuhashi in the first half, only for Jordan White to level from the penalty spot, needed 3 late goals to sew up all 3 points. Furuhashi netted a second with 10 minutes remaining, and Aaron Engels and Luke McGowan scored in injury time. However, Rodgers was pleased with the attitude his charges showed against their on-form opponents and with the contribution of Japanese striker Furuhashi, who had played out wide due to injuries to Nicholas Kuhn and Tyson Maeda during the course of the 90 minutes. I think it's that resilience that the team have, he said. You always find a way. The players did that exceptionally well. It's super cold and the pitch was really bumpy and lively, but we found a way. First half we could have been more than 1 up. Should have been more than 1 up. Then they get paid back with the penalty. But then the reaction was outstanding from there. The guys coming into the game gave us a nice little change of energy, and we ended up with a scoreline that really reflects the game. So we're really pleased. We knew that the Dons team were going to be compact and bright. Lots of players behind the ball. When you have a fast pitch, you can move the ball quickly. We knew that wasn't going to be the case today because of the conditions, but we still tried to do the right things and we got a reward in the end. Rodgers continued, I thought Hyogo worked really well. You have to remember he was a winger when he played in Japan, that's what he was. He came into the club as a winger, so he's played there. But he is not like some wingers are. So it's a case of trying to bring goal scorers in and trying to find a way to be flexible to allow him to do that. I thought that he and Aaron, Engels and Ali Johnson managed that really well on that side of the pitch. Asked if he was keen to keep Furuhashi at Celtic after stories linking him with a move to Atlanta United in the United States this week, Rodgers said, yeah, all the players. We want to improve the squad and develop the squad. His goals today? That's what he's all about. Great runs, getting right in the box and getting us finished. Rodgers gave Republic of Ireland under-21 internationalist Johnny Kenny his Celtic debut in the second half, and he was pleased with the contribution of a striker who has spent the last 2 seasons at Shamrock Rovers on loan. It was absolutely brilliant, he said. He's a young Irish guy who came in a few years ago, went back out and on and done really well. He has scored goals regularly, scored in Europe for Shamrock. Then to come in and be given that opportunity, I was so pleased for him because it just means everything to him. He deserved that wee run out that he's had. Him and Luke energised the game. And that article was written by Matthew Lindsay and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 11th of January 2025, from the sports section, Philip Clement going nowhere as Rangers back embattled manager. Report by Johnny McFarlane. Rangers CEO Patrick Stewart has announced Rangers will back struggling manager Philip Clement and give him time to fix the issues that leave him 15 points behind rivals in the Premiership title race. The former Manchester United chief gave a detailed briefing on the current situation at the club and insisted that fan unrest over the manager would not force change. Stewart also detailed a root and branch internal review of every aspect of the club and stated that the January transfer window would only see 1 or 2 players arrive. And Clement, a 3-time league title winner in his native Belgium, will be given time to get things right on the pitch. Stewart said, cutting to the chase, we are backing Philippe at this time as a board. It's about taking a deeper look at the issues, addressing those problems and staying focused on building a stronger future for the club. Changing a manager isn't a silver bullet solution. You know where I've worked previously, and this isn't something that has been effective there. It's not effective at a lot of football clubs where there's constant change of manager. What I need to do, and what the board are supporting me with, is uncovering the underlying issues and addressing those. And there's been quite a lot of supporters' comments, and one that particularly jumped out at me was, some supporters' comments are, we want to change a manager. I think others are, look, this isn't just about the manager, it's more about what's going on at the football club. Because there's been several years when we've been underperforming, and there's something deeper rooted here, and I agree with that. So I think that's what we need to do. We need to look beneath the surface. Managers and coaching staff will continue to come and go in the future. That's understood. Again, that is football. But what I'm looking to do, again, this is a team effort, is to build a solid foundation and a real long-term football plan for the club. If we rush and react every time there's some poor results, we're in danger of just being back in the same place in a year's time, or 18 months' time, or however long. But I want to be clear. Look, I'm not saying everything is fine, and I think the fans are frustrated. I get that. I've been a football fan my entire life. I've been in that position, but also all frustrated. And particularly if I look at the away results, the record is there, it's been discussed, it's not good, and it's not what's expected for Rangers. So we are working with Philippe to address consistency issues, and I'm also not going to speculate on what happens if the results don't improve. I spent time with Philippe. I spent a lot of time with Philippe, a lot of time at Auchenhowie. I was with Philippe last night and we discussed the need, the imperative for results to improve. If results don't improve, obviously I can't give Philippe any cast iron guarantees. He and I have both been around football long enough to know that isn't the case. Equally, I'm not going to get into how many games Philippe has to save his job. That's not what we're about. We're about helping Philippe to identify why there is the inconsistency, and let's address that. And again, to be clear, sticking with Philippe isn't about trying to avoid a tough decision. In fact, I think, if anything, changing a manager would be the easy decision, because a lot of supporters are calling for that. I'm aware of that, I've seen the statements. But I think it would be easy, and I'm looking for this from the long-term perspective and thinking about what's in the best interest of the club. So I'm putting the club first, not my own interests, and whether this decision is going to be viewed as positive or negative. I'm really thinking about the club first. So, it is very much about making the right decisions for the long-term success of the club. And again, Philippe understands that. I do want to say about Philippe, he's really committed. I've worked with several managers and Philippe is as hardworking and committed as any I've seen. First in the training ground, last out, he's always on, always available, always thinking about it. So he is absolutely committed to bringing success to the club, and we're committed to providing him with that support. But just to reiterate, it's a results-orientated business, so we know that the results have to improve. And that article was written by Johnny McFarlane. From the Glasgow Times, Sunday the 12th of January 2025, from the sports section. Rangers 3, St Johnstone 1. Instant reaction to the burning issues. Report by senior sports writer Graham McGarry. A first half blitz from Rangers saw them defeat St Johnstone comfortably enough on a strange afternoon at Ibrox. It was a largely subdued atmosphere for the most part, punctured now and again with outbursts of fan protestations against those running their club, and a second half walkout that seemed to split opinion within the home ranks. On the field, first half goals from Hamza Igamin, Vaclav Cerny and Mohamed Diamande seemingly had the hosts on easy street, but a Jack Sanders header after the break gave the Saints a little glimmer of hope during what was a laboured second 45 from Philip Clement's men. Here are the talking points from a deflated and divided Ibrox. Rangers fans split on how to make their feelings known. When Ibrox is full and bouncing, it can be one of the most intimidating arenas in European football. But for the majority of the game, this bore more resemblance to a nice afternoon at the Elder Park Library than it did the last match to take place here, the emphatic win over Celtic that was, remarkably, not even a fortnight ago. The stadium wasn't full by any stretch, but still, it was quite something to witness so many people making so little noise. It is tempting to say that the whole occasion had the feel of a pre-season friendly, but that would imply a level of conviviality. Instead, it was simply a mixture of apathy from the majority and anger from some, with a few fans coming almost to blows in the east enclosure in front of the press box. New Rangers Chief Executive Patrick Stewart said in his media briefing on Saturday that the club was backing the manager, for now at least, but the jury is no longer out when it comes to the punters. Their verdict is inclement, no matter how long his goodbye may be. It was as clear as the conversations you could hear going on around you. But the board weren't spared either. Cries of "sack the board" rang out from the section behind the goal housing the Union Bears quarter of an hour in, as they unfurled a banner which read, "Everything from everyone. Fans gave all while you let our standards fall. Sack the board." Then, later in the half, they chanted that their club was in the wrong hands, as they unfurled another banner proclaiming our loyalty is not a free pass for failure. Then later, another that read, "Time for fans to force change." As part of their show of disgruntlement, the Ultras group had also released a statement prior to the match saying that they would walk out in the 55th minute and urged other supporters to join them. While some did indeed take their leave along with them, the majority booed and temporarily roused from their torpor to sing defiantly in support of their team, if not the hierarchy at the club. What it all adds up to is a divided fan base and a fractured club, one that far from pulling in the same direction seems to be pulling one another apart. After a low-key opening 15 minutes, Saints manager Simo Valakari might have been quite content with how his side had settled. In a blink of an eye, though, they were 3 down, and not to detract from the efforts of the Rangers players, the goals were embarrassingly poor from a St Johnstone point of view. Firstly, Aaron Essel fell asleep as he was caught out by a quick throw-in, allowing Diomande to score to Eagamain for the easiest of tap-ins. Then, a strong tackle from Robin Proper and a simple through ball from Danilo had Cerny through on debutant keeper Andrew Fisher, who must have been wondering what on earth he had signed up to. The winger tucked it away, and soon after the net was bulging again. Under a high cross, centre-back Sanders was under no pressure, and he could have done anything other than what he actually did, inexplicably popping the ball up on a plate for Diomande to nod home. Valakari has taken some stick for trying to play expansive football, when his team are sinking so deeply into the stinky stuff, and his team were wide open again here. But in mitigation, there is little the manager can do to legislate for such ineptitude from his players. Sanders somewhat redeemed himself as he scored a second half header from Max Kuchereva's corner delivery. They were always likely to take a bit of a sore one here, but perhaps the more spirited second half showing will at least offer their small band of supporters that were here hope that they can have it within them to mount a great escape. The brilliant showing against Celtic apart, it was the same old story from Rangers, here, as they failed to piece together 2 decent halves of football. 3-0 up and cruising at the interval, and the fans may have hoped their team could put something of a show on in the second half as payback for their backing despite their ongoing failures. Instead, the foot came right off the gas, with their slackness allowing the Saints to get a foothold in the game, albeit the damage was long done. Their insipid second half showing just added to the sense of flatness all round. That being said, and as has been the case for many weeks now, the Moroccan forward and the Czech winger, Eagamain and Cerny, have been among the few reasons to be cheerful for Rangers fans, and they were impressive again here. Eagamain took his opening goal well, and he almost had a spectacular second as his overhead kick dropped just the wrong side of the post. Cerny, for his part, also showed great composure to tuck away his side's second of the afternoon, and was always a threat. Along with Nico Raskin, these have been the players more than any others who have at least stepped up to the plate for Rangers in these past few weeks, but they can't carry the team alone. And that report was by Graham McGarry, and it was read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 11th of January, from the sports section, Union Bears join forces with fan group to call for Rangers walkout. Article written by Johnny McFarlane. Rangers fan groups the Union Bears and the Rangers Supporters Association have combined forces to call on fellow fans to join them in a mass walkout at tomorrow's game with St Johnstone at Ibrox. The social media statement of intent comes after CEO Patrick Stewart addressed the media on the record for the first time at Ibrox today. The former Manchester United man gave his full support to manager Philippe Clement despite an 18-point gap in the title race, revealed a root and branch external review of every part of the football department, and that only 1 or 2 players would be signed in the January window. And the fans' reaction to the news has been stark, accusing Stewart and the board of incompetence, excuses and disrespect. A statement read, "The Union Bears, alongside the Rangers Supporters Association, urge all fans to leave the stadium in the 55th minute during tomorrow's match to send a statement to the board. Just as they gave up on Rangers after our 55th title, we will no longer tolerate their incompetence, excuses and disrespect." The board used their 55th title as free rein to coast in success, masking their lack of vision and leadership while dragging the club into mediocrity. These actions may seem drastic, but they are necessary. The board has failed us too long, and our loyalty will no longer be used as a pass for their failure. The Rangers support cannot stop until there is accountability, ambition, and leadership worthy of our club, they said. And that report was written by Johnny McFarlane.
Evening Times Sport, January 13. Rangers boss Clement should still be on Belgian shortlist. Report by Mark Walker. Former Anderlecht and Ghent boss Johan Boskamp reckons under pressure Rangers manager Philippe Clement is still on Belgium's shortlist to take charge of their national team. Clement was handed a vote of confidence at the weekend by new Ibrox chief executive Patrick Stewart and guided his side to a comfortable win against St Johnstone, despite protests by fans. Belgium seems certain to axe manager Domenico Tedesco after a dismal Euros and poor results since, with Clement's name consistently being mentioned as a possible replacement by Belgian media, despite the Rangers boss insisting he was not interested. Now former Stoke City boss Boskamp, who has also managed Standard Liège, Liège, Dender, Beveren and Kortrijk in Belgium, and is now a TV pundit, believes Clement's name is in the frame with the Belgian FA, and he continued, "I am sure Philippe Clement's name has certainly been discussed, but I hope Philippe can still straighten things out at Rangers. He is still young and will certainly get chances to become the national coach of Belgium in the future. The new manager has to be Belgian. There are enough good Belgian coaches. They just have to make clear choices." Report by Mark Walker. Evening Times Sport, January 13. Craig Fowler points out Bushiri and the goal that changed the season. Football's greatest strength lies in its unpredictability. Yet so often when supporters discuss the merits of individual teams or players, we speak in finalities. This player is the best in the league. That player is absolutely useless. This manager is a genius. That manager has lost the dressing room, etc., etc. It is a paradox at the heart of the game, and one which is entirely necessary, because if you believe the unexpected all the time, then eventually it would stop being special. Obviously, patterns in football exist all around us and can help us to predict the immediate future. Teams will go on lengthy winning and losing streaks, where the next result seems preordained. Players will impress consistently for long periods, where everything they touch seems to turn to gold, or they will struggle to the point where a catastrophic mistake is almost a guarantee. We know all this, and yet we are always surprised when the script suddenly flips, when the striker in the form of his life misses a sitter in a crucial game, or when someone who has previously thought of as being past the point of no return turns it all around. Rocky Bushiri is one such player in the 24-25 Scottish football season, but the Hibs centre-back has done more than simply furrow a different path for his own personal narrative. He's arguably done more than any one individual to turn a significant chunk of the Scottish Premiership on its head. The November 26 encounter between Hibs and Aberdeen at Easter Road had one of the balmiest finishes to a football game you have ever likely to see, as 3 goals were shared in stoppage time for an unforgettable 3-3 draw. But it also had a huge impact on the fortunes of the two clubs involved. When Esther Sockler cancelled out Nicky Cadden's injury time equaliser, it looked certain that Hibs boss David Gray was going to get the sack. He'd recently been given the dreaded vote of confidence, had lost 4-1 to Dundee just a few days prior, and would have been left a point adrift at the bottom of the table. But Bushiri put his body on the line to force home the most unlikely of equalisers, demonstrating the team's willingness to fight for their manager and each other. Since then, Hibs have lost only once, away to Celtic, winning 6 of 9 games and propelling themselves into the top 6. Unthinkably, they're also now in the race for 3rd place and the potential bounty of a prolonged European adventure next season. That's because, while Bushiri's goal inspired Hibs to turn the season around, it also heralded a perplexing slump from the Dons. Having matched Celtic stride for stride at the top, they had just lost for the first time the previous game, going down 2-1 to St Mirren Paisley. But when Sockler netted his stunning goal at Easter Road, it appeared as if that match would be little more than a blip, from which they dusted themselves down and continued on with their fairy tale campaign. Instead, it ended up being the second game in a winless run, which now stretches to 11 without victory. The battle for 3rd once seemed preordained. If Aberdeen did not go one further and split the Old Firm. Now they're trailing newly promoted Dundee United by 2 points. Hibs, meanwhile, lurk just 6 points away, whereas if it wasn't for Bushiri's equaliser, they would have been 26 points adrift of Aberdeen less than 2 months ago. As for Bushiri, the hero of the tale, it all seems just so unbelievable. And yet we should have been programmed to expect the unexpected when it comes to the Congolese international. This is a man who was signed to his club by accident. In fact, the administrative error, which saw Hibs contractually obliged to make his move from Norwich City permanent in 2022, was not the only one which would happen that summer, as a failure to realise Bushiri was suspended for their final League Cup group stage game finalised an embarrassing early exit from the tournament. Having failed to impress during his initial loan spell, it did not bode well for his future prospects, but Bushiri managed to make himself a first-choice pick under Lee Johnson, before an injury in January pretty much ended his 2022-23 campaign. He was considered a starter the following term, before erratic play on an underperforming Hibs side ultimately saw him split time with a notably over-the-hill Paul Hanlon. It looked certain his spell in green and white would soon be over earlier this season, when Gray signed not one, not two, but 3 new centre-backs in the summer window. Bushiri was so far down the pecking order that he played just once in the league as an 83rd minute substitute prior to November, despite being fit and available. But lacklustre play from those centre-backs, an injury to Marvin Ekpiteta, a change in formation, and that aforementioned goal against Aberdeen have all combined to transform his prospects. He's in great form, and there's now even talk of a potential contract extension. There is a wave of goodwill coming down from the stands, as supporters are becoming adjusted to Bushiri's box office manner of playing centre-back. Within the confines of 90 minutes, you don't know what is going to come next. And amongst otherwise strong recent performances against Hearts and Rangers, he still scored a clumsy own goal in the former and nearly cost his side a late earned point with some absent-minded dithering in the latter. Even in Saturday's fairly routine 3-1 win over Motherwell, Bushiri was on his best behaviour defensively, but still ventured on a lung-busting run through the middle of the opposition defence, which preceded Jack Vale's red card challenge on Martin Boyle. How many other centre-halves would even think of that? It is doubtful whether fans would be so forgiving if such eccentricity was repeated in the midst of a European run during the business end of the season. But thanks in no small part to Bushiri, Hibs look like they're going to be in a position to find out, says Craig Fowler. Evening Times Sport, January 13. Golf has never been about perfect lies. Report by Nick Rodger. It was perhaps inevitable that David Rickman would end up as a rules guru of noble standing. Having first worked at an Open Championship as a 13-year-old litter picker back in 1978, you could say he was used to dealing with, well, dodgy drops. Here in 2025, Rickman is enjoying his retirement. He's also basking in the glow of being awarded an MBE in the King's New Year Honours List for his diligent, dedicated services to the old stick and ball game. You get that strange letter from the Cabinet Office saying, "Urgent and personal," he said of his special delivery. Forget the notice of an MBE. It could have been a pressing request for Rickman to clarify a ruling in the Whitehall husband and wife salver. After 34 Opens as a rules official and 28 as the R&A's chief referee, Rickman has been immersed in the do's and don'ts of golf for so long. His copy of the rulebook is just about chiselled in a tablet of stone. Things have changed a bit since golf's original 13 commandments were devised back in 1744, when there were quaint mentions of horses and dogs, scholars' holes, and soldiers' lines. As the years passed and the game evolved, the rules, appendices, and decisions grew, and this golfing Bible developed into the kind of complex read that would make the phenomenology of the spirit look like a peekaboo book. When I started, I knew the rules as well as any single handicap golfer, but even that could be a bit mixed, chuckles Rickman, who served his apprenticeship under the great Sir Michael Bonalac, and would go on to lead a major overhaul of the rule book in 2019. I had to learn on the job. It was a bit intimidating when I first started. The rules were well written, but they were quite legalistic and complicated. What we tried to do over the years was to be faithful to the principles of the rules, but simplify them and make them more intuitive and accessible. The 2019 modernisation was huge and the culmination of a lot of thinking. It was a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. Nothing was more puzzling for Rickman than the extraordinary rule book moment that was whipped up by Jordan Spieth's detour into the Royal Birkdale practice ground en route to his thrilling Open win in 2017. On the 13th hole of the final round, Spieth plunged his drive so far right into the dunes, the R&A just about had to phone the Sefton Coast Search and Rescue Unit. From that point, a head-scratching, prolonged palaver unfolded as Spieth opted to take an unplayable, go back some 30 yards amid the equipment trucks that were parked on the range, and play his third shot over the towering dunes. He limited the damaging to an astonishing bogey and surged to claret jug glory. Reflected Rickman, it was extraordinary. We did not think the practice ground was in play, but as part of the relief procedure from his unplayable ball, that's where he wanted to go. We had not anticipated that. While Spieth turned calamity into conquest in 2017, there was not such a happy ending for title contender Mark Rowe at St George's in 2003, when he and playing partner Jesper Parnevik failed to swap scorecards on the first tee and were both disqualified at the end of round 3. Said Rickman, "That made me feel physically sick. We actually changed the interpretation of that rule a couple of years later to make sure it would not happen again. At the time, though, it was a huge black mark on that championship for me." As a referee, Rickman's aim was always to help players get back in play after a mishap, a misadventure, or a dollop of muttering misfortune. But he added, sometimes you have to give them the news they do not want to hear. I would never take a reaction from a player personally. I remember giving Howard Clark a ruling when I was a fresh-faced recruit at a PGA championship many years ago, and he said, "I think you should go back to St Andrews and read your rule book." It was a bit more colourful than that, of course. Many a golfer will have cursed and cursed at the rules. Nothing, for instance, generates a bonfire of the profanities quite like a perfect drive. Yes, it does happen now and again, landing in someone else's divot. You don't, of course, get relief. Will that ever change? Said Rickman, I hope not. You play the ball as it lies, and golf's never been about perfect lies. If that's what you think golf is about, then you have not learned the game in Scotland. Amen, and an MBE to that, says Nick Roger. Evening Times Sport, January 13. Nisiala reflects on first Ibrox start. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Clinton Nisiala expressed his joy after making a winning debut at Ibrox, contributing to Rangers' 3-1 triumph over St Johnstone. The 20-year-old defender secured his second consecutive start under manager Philippe Clement, showcasing his potential as he transitions from the B team to the first-team squad. Previously a standout in AC Milan's youth ranks, Nisiala is embracing the opportunity to establish himself in the Scottish Premiership. He also shared the insights on the valuable guidance he has received from teammates, which has been instrumental in his adaptation to life in Glasgow. The Rangers centre-back said, "It was a great feeling to play at Ibrox and obviously start to the game. That is always an amazing feeling, especially when you win and you make your home debut. I think we put in a good performance. We scored early in the game, and that helped us to have more confidence and then to create more chances. Then we got the second and then the third goal, which was good. We built on it, and it is always better to score first, as it gives you more confidence. It makes you more free to play your own game as well." Asked how he felt coming into the Rangers starting 11 over the past week, Nisiala replied, "All the boys and the coaching staff have been really great, and they have helped me settle in. They have told me to keep it simple and do what I have been doing in training. That is why I am here. Playing in the B team helped me. It is always good to keep your tempo high. I played with the B team and I was training with the first team as well, which was good, as it kept me in contact with the group." Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, January 13. Under fire, Clement gets backing from Rangers squad. Report by Graham McGarry. A manager receiving public backing from his board is not always a welcome thing. In fact, it is often a portent of doom for an under-pressure coach. Whether that is the case when it comes to Philippe Clement, time will tell. The Belgian received the dreaded vote of confidence from new Rangers CEO Patrick Stewart on Saturday, though as these things go, his words were rather on the equivocal side. Clement's call for unity after the win over St Johnstone yesterday at a fractious Ibrox seems as far-fetched as the prospect of him standing in the Ibrox dugout come the first day of next season. But at least there is solid backing for the manager from within the dressing room. As the Rangers support know all too well though, words are one thing while action is quite another. Still, while players are highly unlikely to slate their manager when asked if they are behind him during difficult times, they can often skirt around the issue or offer mealy-mouthed platitudes. When it fell to Mohamed Diamond to answer it, the Rangers midfielder response was emphatic and offered without hesitation. Diamond said, "He is all of us together. He brought me in and I trust him, and I'm sure other players also do. They trust his tactics and what he wants to bring to the club, and we just need to deliver what he shows us in training. And you need to deliver it on the pitch for him also to get the maximum points we all want and to achieve our goals." While Clement is unlikely to be completely reassured by Stewart's backing, Diamond did say that the CEO's gesture did have a settling effect on the squad, and he added, "It's good. We are all trying to do our best, and we are all learning from each other. We listened to him, and we tried to improve together as a team. I've known him before I came to Rangers, and he brought me in, and I try to learn from him each day. I'm just trying to be the best I can be, and to learn from him or the assistant, also my teammates." If questions on the manager delivered a direct response from Diamond, His handling of queries on how the unrest in the Ibrox stands and the walkout by the Union Bears and the Rangers Supporters Association affected the men in blue were danced around as nimbly as the St Johnstone midfield. He said, "I didn't really notice anything because I was focused. I didn't really see what was going on around, but I could hear a lot of noise, and the noise was like the support they've been giving. So I felt they were supporting us, and I didn't really know what was going on. I just played my game, and also with my teammates to help them. I mean, we just want to win the games, and winning the games is going to make them happy, because that's what the club is about." I think they have also been backing us up, and like I said, I felt like they did on Sunday also. Whether Diamond has noticed it or not, that support seems to slip into apathetic indifference for many on Sunday, amid the sporadic outbursts of protest. Perhaps more worryingly though, it seemed to spill into anger among the away support at Dens Park last Thursday night, who would have had their fill of the dreadful results their team have posted when not playing at Ibrox this season. To have won just 3 of their 11 league matches on the road is a dramatic and damning statistic, and Diamond says that finding a solution to their away day woes is the number one priority every day at their Auchenhowie training base. He continued, "It's been difficult away. We've not been good at getting the points we wanted, but we are really working hard in training to try and find out why we cannot win games away. And I think we are getting there slowly to get the points we all want. We need to be able to break teams down when they sit with 11 players behind, and we are really working on that. If they're going to improve on their travels, then they need more than the likes of Diamond, who showed with his goal against St Johnstone that he does possess a willingness to get into the danger area and a nose for sniffing out an opportunity. I really want to keep on doing that," he said. "I want to make the difference also when I get up higher on the pitch, and I want to score the goals, give the assists, and I think that's something I'm working on at training, and I hope it continues. I've had good games this season and also not good games, but I'm happy that I was back on the score sheet, and I want to continue doing that. I always want to be on the ball. I want to build the team up and also get in the box and score goals." Evening Times Sport, January 13. Tennis. Fernley stuns Kyrgios with Australian Open win. Report by Ewan Payton. Scotland's Jacob Fernley claimed the biggest win of his career at the Australian Open with a straight sets victory over Nick Kyrgios. Home favourite Kyrgios, the 2022 Wimbledon finalist, was handicapped by an abdominal strain as the 23-year-old Fernley prevailed 7-6, 6-3, 7-6 in 2 hours and 19 minutes on his debut in Melbourne. Kyrgios was playing his first Grand Slam event since the 2022 United States Open after recovering from chronic wrist and hip injuries. Fernley, in his on-court interview, said, "I was extremely nervous before the match, and I didn't get too much sleep. I knew it was going to be a rowdy match. I thought I played good. I'm sorry for Nick. I knew he was dealing with some stuff, but he played some unbelievable tennis, and I thought it was a great match. I just tried to focus on myself as best as I could. All things considered, it is probably the best match I've ever played. I've had a few heckles thrown my way in American college tennis, but this was something I'd never experienced before." Fernley had admitted to feeling anxious about playing Kyrgios on Australian soil, acknowledging that the partisan Melbourne crowd would be against him. The world number 92 was seeking to take another huge step in his second Grand Slam. The 23-year-old lost to Novak Djokovic in the second round at Wimbledon last year, but that is following a spectacular rise through the rankings. Kyrgios saved 2 break points at 3-3 in the first set, but a couple of grimaces revealed his inner turmoil, and the Australian began suggesting that he should not be playing through the pain barrier. Fernley was unruffled as Kyrgios' complaints grew louder, and the language directed at his team courtside became more colourful. The British number 3 dominated the tie-break with a series of explosive forehand winners, and it was the same script in the second set. The Scot broke early, and Kyrgios' discomfort was clear as he twice called for medical assistance during game breaks. Kyrgios told his team at the end of the second set that he would keep going until I cannot anymore. The end looked nigh when Kyrgios missed a routine volley at the net, and Fernley broke for a 2-1 lead in the third set. But Kyrgios broke back for 3-3 before an underarm serve and a spot of showboating got the John Cain Arena crowd on its feet. Amid seesaw drama, Fernley had break points in successive games, and Kyrgios, despite requiring more medical attention, had a set point when 5-4 ahead. None were taken before Fernley finally broke Kyrgios' resistance in a one-sided tie-break. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, January 13. Callum McGregor on why Celtic's defeat to Rangers was a good one. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Callum McGregor has described Celtic's agonising defeat to Rangers earlier this month as a good one, because it drove home to the Scottish champions how painful losing can be and provoked a positive reaction. McGregor was devastated when Brendan Rodgers' side slumped to an excruciating 3-0 reverse to Philippe Clement's team in a William Hill Premiership match at Ibrox a fortnight ago. It was the first competitive league match the Glasgow Giants had lost to their city rivals in nearly 3.5 years, and the first domestic fixture they had failed to draw or triumph in since Hearts beat them 2-0 at Tynecastle in March. However, the Parkhead club's captain has been pleased with the response to the result. Celtic have recorded consecutive wins over St Mirren, Dundee United and Ross County since, and increased their advantage at the top of the table. McGregor, who is set to return to action in a Premiership match against Dundee at Dens Park tomorrow evening, is confident that no complacency will creep into his side's play in the coming weeks, despite their comfortable lead. The reaction's been superb in the 3 games since, he said. There's been a lot of goals. The team's playing well. There is nice consistency and fluidity in the team again. Obviously, it was a sore one for us, but we had to dust ourselves down. We had a game really quickly after that. The boys have spoken about the demands that we want to put on each other, and the last 3 games have been excellent. So it has been a really good response. Now we will keep doing that every time we play, every time we train. It means so much to us, so we'll give our best every time we get the chance. Of course it can be difficult, but probably the Rangers one was actually a good one, just to refocus the group and make you realise that when you lose a game, it hurts you. It doesn't matter how far ahead you are or how well you've done previously. When you lose a game of football, it hurts. That's what's good about this group. They understand it, and they know what the expectation level is. So it doesn't really matter how far in front we are, or whatever. We want to show every single game. Try and give the maximum level that we can, and then just see where we get to at the end of the season. We want to just continue strong and keep pushing. It's the same every year. It's how you react. Once you've had a bad setback, then get back on the horse. Go again. Do everything you can to make sure the next one is a positive experience. The boys have been fantastic. Driven by a lot of good players, we know what the level is. We dropped below that for Rangers. So it's up to us to show that reaction and get back on the horse and keep winning football matches. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, January 13. Celtic McGregor on subdued Kyogo celebrations. Report by Matthew Lindsay. The MLS may have apologised for mistakenly announcing that Kyogo Furuhashi had joined Atlanta United on their website last week, but rumours about the striker leaving Celtic during the January transfer window persist, even when he's scoring and winning matches. The Japanese international's subdued celebrations after both of the goals he netted in the 4-1 victory over Ross County on Saturday have simply fueled speculation about his future. Yet Callum McGregor, who trains with Furuhashi every day at Lennoxtown and played alongside him in Dingwall at the weekend, remains convinced his teammate is content in his current surroundings. And he said, "I don't know if he's celebrating more or not. I'm not reading too much into that. He is scoring goals. He is still working hard for the team. Any time I see him train, any time I see him play for the team, he's still giving his all. So that would suggest that he's happy and wants to be part of the team." McGregor, who helped Brendan Rodgers' men grind out a victory in freezing conditions in the Highlands, which sent them, if only for 24 hours, 18 points clear of Rangers at the top of the William Hill Premiership table, is certainly hoping the £4.5 million signing stays at Celtic. He feels the man who took, despite playing out of position on the wing due to injuries, his tally for the 24-25 campaign to 12, with his double against County, will be very difficult for the Scottish champions to replace. And he said, he is a proper footballer and has great game intelligence. He pretty much has everything. He can come and link the game, set one touch, and his movement is incredible. The first goal was exactly what we worked on. Ida came short, and then he was the one that broke the line and ended up getting the goal. He was intelligent enough to see the space. That's his biggest strength, but his finishing is unbelievable. Even the second one is such a good header. So yes, I've probably run out of superlatives for him, to be honest. He's still such a huge and important part of what we're doing, and we're really lucky to have him. Asked if he would like Furuhashi to stay, he said, "Yes, absolutely. He's a top player and has given us so many good memories in such big games. He's been the difference. He's been decisive for us. so I am sure that the club will want to keep him as long as we can, because he is a huge player for us. And again, in sticky games like Saturday, he can come in and make the difference. That's what you need from your strikers. He's still pretty quiet, but he's just his own wee personality. He's a nice guy, very, very respectful of everybody at Leonardstown and everybody that works for the club. So, number one, he's a great person. You don't always have to be the loudest person in the room to be a good guy. He goes about his work and he gives absolutely everything. So he's a pleasure to share a changing room with, and the lads know that as well. Celtic have been linked with a £7 million move for Denmark under-21 international Mathias Vistgaarden of Brøndby in January, speculation which has done nothing to quell uncertainty over Furuhashi. McGregor is acutely aware of the need for the treble-chasing Premier Sports Cup winners, who are on the cusp of qualifying for the Champions League knockout round playoffs, to strengthen the squad further this month. However, he acknowledged that it will take an exceptional talent to supplant their current number 9. And he continued, his record has been incredible since he came in. So that's what this club is. We always want to keep moving forward, and if there's a business to be done, then we want to do it and just keep pushing everybody in the right direction. So obviously the club will look after that, but we want to add quality to the squad as well, not just numbers. So hopefully whoever comes in, and whatever position, then that is adding to the quality as well. Meanwhile, McGregor admitted he was pleased to see Republic of Ireland under-21 international Johnny Kenny make his debut when he replaced his countryman Ida up front against County on Saturday. He is hopeful that working with the likes of Ida and Furuhashi on a daily basis at Leonardstown can help the striker, who has impressed in the past couple of seasons after being farmed out to Shamrock Rovers to develop further as a player. And he said he's done really well since he's been out on loan, but his loan is finished. He's back with us now, and he's looked good in the last couple of days training with the squad. Of course, it is always the ultimate reward to get on the pitch and be a part of it. He came into the game as a sort of sticky time, but he showed good quality and nice link-up play. He's in the box, he's in the right areas. He's probably unlucky not to get a goal himself. For young players, it's always great to see them coming through the academy, because it shows there is a pathway there for you. When you get on, you have to take your chance and continue to work hard. I think he knows that anyway, but the group is a really strong group, so we'll keep him in the right direction as well. I think we have got top professionals and top players in pretty much every department. So when you come into this changing room, you see the level and expectation and the way the boys look after themselves. So for any young player, and we had a few other kids on the bench as well, that's the level you have to be at. We'll keep driving them there and training and keep trying to help them develop as much as they can. Then, when they get the opportunity, then it's almost down to them to try and take it. But we'll help them as much as we can. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, January 13. Rangers fans vow protests to continue until there is change. Report by Ewan Payton. The Union Bears have warned Rangers that protests will continue until there is real change for our club. Yesterday saw the Ultras group stage a walkout on 55 minutes during Rangers' 3-1 victory over St Johnstone in the Scottish Premiership. They carried out the move in protest of the club's board and ownership amid their dismal domestic form, which has seen them fall 15 points behind arch-rivals Celtic. A number of fans could be seen vacating their seats in the Copland front, having displayed 3 separate banners during the game, which saw a much-needed 3 points secured by Philippe Clement and his players. Audible boos could be heard from other sections of Ibrox as the protest was carried out. Others within different parts of the ground left too. However, the majority remained seated for the rest of the match. It seems the Union Bears are undeterred by the lack of support for their protest, as they hinted more action will soon follow. A short statement from the group read, "Thank you to every Rangers fan who participated in the protest actions. We will continue until there is real change for our club." Clement was understandably coy when asked about the situation post-match, as the Belgian called for unity among the fan base, and he commented, "I want everybody to be united. Simple. You can see it as a positive that still a lot of people are behind everything, but I want to have everybody united. That's what I wanted last year when I came in, and it was also totally not the case at the moment. But it has to do with performance, and that is normal. We want consistency. I want consistency. And fans want consistency to get better results. And in that way, we have consistency in the home games. We now have 31 points out of 33, I think. We have consistency in our European season, but we did not have consistency away at home. So those are things to work on with all of the squad. I am focused on getting the results, and I know also, out of my experience here, if we play well, if we get the results, that the fans are always behind the team. But I understand the frustration. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, January 13. Rangers win marred by Union Bears walkout. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Neil McCann skillfully navigated a challenging question regarding Philippe Clement's Rangers' future, while suggesting the new Chief Executive Patrick Stewart has a huge job on his hands to quell rising tensions among supporters. Rangers experienced a roller coaster of emotions as Clement secured a crucial 3-1 home victory against St Johnstone in the Scottish Premiership. However, the match was ultimately overshadowed by the Union Bears' controversial walkout in the 55th minute, which sparked a mix of boos and applause from the Ibrox crowd. The protest was directed at the Rangers board, highlighting a deep divide between fans and those running the club. Earlier in the week, Stewart had convened a press conference to express his backing for Clement, while also stressing the need for improved results, with Rangers sitting 15 points behind Celtic in the league standings. His statements came in response to mounting fan discontent, as both the Union Bears and the Rangers Supporters Society issued pointed criticisms demanding significant changes within the club. There were banners and angry chanting before the Union Bears departed the ground, and McCann admits that he was not surprised by the way some punters acted. The former Rangers star, when asked about the current problems coming to fruition on the BBC Sports Scene show, said, "It did not surprise me. I think Patrick Stewart has had a big job in his hands. He was straightforward and said he's giving the manager his backing, but results need to improve. That's obvious." If you're reading between the lines, the statement carries enough. Threat isn't the word, but it's a message to the fans that he said to the manager, the away form needs to pick up, the results need to be better, the consistency needs to be better. Otherwise, Philippe Clement will lose his job. On Rangers' overall performance, McCann went on to say, "The second half was a massive drop-off. Philippe Clement was asked the question about the fans leaving at 55 minutes. What is your reaction to that? He says, well, we've got to keep them in the building. Well, on 54 minutes, St Johnstone scored, so it's not going to keep them in the building. Simo Valakari, as poor as St Johnstone were in the first half, is probably saying to his team, go out and win the second half, and they've done that. So the real disappointment is that Rangers have not done anything of note in the second half. St Johnstone will take a lot of confidence. I think young Mackenzie Kirk actually had a really good game today in difficult circumstances. He was a bright spark." The analysis could not end before McCann being asked by Jonathan Sutherland whether Clement will still be in the Rangers dugout come the summer, and he replied, "The question is an aggressive one. I'm not going to answer it as a yes or a no, but he is under enormous pressure, and if he doesn't get the results, Rangers will make the decision." Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, January 13. Ross County keeper on worst months of his life. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Conceding 3 late goals to Celtic at the Global Energy Stadium on Saturday was difficult for Jordan Amusia, the Ross County keeper, who performed superbly against the Scottish champions and was a worthy winner of the Man of the Match award. The German-born Ghanaian, though, has been through far worse experiences this season than the 4-1 defeat which his new side suffered against the William Hill Premiership leaders in Dingwall. The 6'6" 23-year-old confessed that going without gainful employment for 6 months after being released by Sheffield United, the English Championship club he had spent 6 years at, was the most demanding spell of his career. And he said, "I can say that the months I had without a club were the toughest of my life. It was my first time being in that position. You're just trying to keep yourself fit, keep the hands sharp, and waiting for the opportunity. Obviously, leaving Sheffield United was not an easy decision. I had been there from under 18, and I played my first professional game there. I have a lot of time for a lot of people in the club. But ultimately, I am a young goalkeeper who wants to play games, so that's what I was looking for. But the opportunity did not come up as quickly as I would have wanted, to be sure." Amisa paid a heartfelt tribute to his friends and family for keeping his spirits up while he was without a club, and revealed that his religious beliefs had been important for him during that time. He said, "My family kept me going. My family, for sure, my mum, my sister, my dad. My girlfriend has been very supportive with me. My faith as well. I just kept believing that God has a plan for me." It is not easy when you've got no routine. You're going from training 5 or 6 times a week and having a match to not having that routine. It's really, really tough keeping that drive to get up in the morning, go to the gym, do your bits and bobs. But I would like to say that I've got a very good support system around me that stick with me in the good times, and for sure stick with me in the bad times as well. Watching football over the last 6 months was tough. I'm seeing good friends doing well, playing week in, week out. That's what you want to do. That's what I became a footballer for. I was a bit giddy waiting for the opportunity to go and play. It's just been exciting to come up here. I was excited as soon as I got the call. I'd heard a lot of great things about the club. I know people who have been up here before. I liked what I heard when I had my first conversation with the manager. For me, it was a no-brainer coming up here. Luckily, I have got the opportunity to get out there and play, and I have kept the shirt so far. He is confident that he can put the weekend disappointment behind him and help the Highland outfit to return to winning ways when they take on second-tier Livingston in the Scottish Gas Scottish Cup in Dingwall on Saturday. And he continued, I think I know what I can do. I know what I can perform on the pitch. I'm backing myself to come here and do well. Celtic is one of the games where the goalkeeper can probably shine because you have a lot to do. But I would have swapped the man of the match for a point or 3 points. It's good. It's an achievement for me. But at the end of the day, the team is bigger than that. So, as I said, let's just get the head down. There's a tick behind this game now, and we get focused on the next one. For me, it's all about keeping going now. I'm happy to have extended until the end of the season, and I'm just trying to crack on. We have been on a brilliant run. We can even look back and say we've had a decent enough game against Celtic. We can build on that and crack on. Report by Matthew Lindsay.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Q and Review and to tell your friends about our service